Testing 1 2 3. Test, test, test. Good afternoon if you're joining us right now on Facebook Live. We are awaiting Joe Biden's arrival here in El Paso. He is set to arrive possibly in the next 10 minutes or so. We're told that it could happen at around 1:15 Central Time, which is about 12:15 El Paso time. So he is arriving with several politicians, including Henry Cuellar, Veronica Escobar, Vicente Gonzalez. They are joining him there on Air Force One, along with his other staff and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. He is also on Air Force One. So they are heading here. Again, should be arriving in the next 10 minutes or so. So we're going to be following this here. You can follow our coverage right here on Facebook. We're watching as a motorcade is already lining up for President Biden's arrival. Although it looks like it has moved for now. But we are anticipating that President Biden's arrival will happen in the next 10 minutes or so again. So you can follow it here on Ken's 5, this Facebook page, but we're going to have continuous coverage tonight at 10 as well. So we're going to continue to be here. I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now, but we're going to resume right when he arrives. Again, could happen at around 1:15 Central Time, which is 12:15 El Paso time. So be right back. Good afternoon. If you're joining us on the Kent's 5 Facebook Live, as we're waiting President Joe Biden's arrival in El Paso, we just received an update about 5-10 minutes ago. We just learned that President Joe Biden will be arriving a little later than we anticipated. So they originally told us he was 30 minutes early. Now he's about 15 minutes early, or he's going to be arriving 15 minutes early from the original time we were told. So he's going to get here at around 12:30 Mountain Time, which is 1:30 Central Time. So we're just following this, waiting for his arrival. He's going to be coming with several other representatives, including Henry Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, and Veronica Escobar. Veronica Escobar, of course, represents the city of El Paso. Vicente Gonzalez represents South Texas, including Corpus Christi, and Henry Cuellar represents portions of the outskirts of San Antonio to Laredo. So they will be joining him along with the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. So we're just awaiting to find out more information about what he's going to be doing while he's here in El Paso. We're told he's going to be meeting with city leaders, Border Patrol. We've already managed to speak to some city leaders, including the director of the Opportunity Center here in El Paso, who has been helping to provide resources to migrants. He is going to be in attendance as well, so we're just playing it by ear for now. We're going to be streaming his arrival here in El Paso, which again is set to happen about 13 minutes from now at 12:30 Mountain Time, so 1:30 Central Time. He is expected to leave at around 3:45, but I'm not sure if, because he's getting here sooner than anticipated, he's going to be leaving sooner than anticipated. But as it stands now, he's leaving around 3:45 Mountain Standard Time, which is 4:45 Central Time. So we're going to continue to follow this. The rest of his stay here in El Paso, it's going to be very brief. He is not joined by the First Lady. That First Lady will be joining him in Mexico for the next leg of his trip. But again, we're going to continue to follow this. We're waiting for his arrival, which is set to take place at about 12 minutes from now. Good afternoon. This is Alyssa Tejas with Ken's 5. So we are awaiting President Joe Biden's arrival. We're told staff members just finished telling us that he's going to be arriving 5 minutes from now. So he'll be touching down here in El Paso, Texas. So it is happening earlier than expected. We were anticipating him to arrive at around 12:45, but now he's arriving at around 12:30 now. He is joined by several other U.S. reps, including Veronica Escobar, Henry Cuellar, and Vicente Gonzalez. Along with the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. The First Lady is not joining him this afternoon. She will be joining him instead in Mexico. So after this leg of the trip here in El Paso, he will go over to Mexico. That is set to happen at around 3:45 Mountain Standard Time, which is about 4:45 Central Time. So we just finished speaking to an official. They told us that while he's here, he's going to land. There's a motorcade. We just saw, okay, now we're seeing as the plane is starting to arrive. We're watching as it's flying in now. He should be landing within the next few minutes. But after he lands here, he will be going to the Bridge of Americas, which is in around central El Paso. If you are familiar with El Paso, it's then after that, the staff member told us he will be going to the Migrant Resource Center, and then he will depart from El Paso. So right now you're looking at you're about to look at the president arriving in the shot in just a few moments. So in just a few moments, we're going to be watching as the president is arriving. We're watching as the plane is descending down on El Paso. So happening a little bit sooner than usual, but it is a very busy afternoon that he has in store.
This is his first trip to the border since taking office.
That's right, Andy. We got a list of people and dignitaries, lawmakers that are with him there on Air Force One.
Okay, right now he's not within eyesight because there are some planes covering the view, but again, it's going to happen in the next few minutes or so. Okay, now we're watching as the plane has landed. It's on the ground now. It's moving forward, so he is moving a little forward. This is his first trip to the U.S. border in 2 years. So here you are looking at Air Force One as it is coming in, landing in El Paso. President Joe Biden is aboard this plane along with several other representatives and lawmakers.
Off in the distance, we see Air Force One arriving here at the El Paso International Airport as Biden makes his first visit to El Paso here, of course, to cover issues along the border. He said, as Andy said, he's set to tour the El Paso County Migrant Services Center and again the Bridge of Americas. That is the country. So that's a couple of times he's been there. We have a crew there at the Bridge of Americas and also the migrant.
Okay, so President Biden did land at around 1:26 Central Time. That is 12:26 Mountain Time. So you can see there, you're looking at Air Force One there in the distance. Very large plane making its way over. We're going to have a first-hand view of him getting off of the plane right where we're standing. We watched as they were preparing the stairs, so you can see he is going to be getting off the plane very shortly before he continues on with the rest of his trip. And again, he is joined by several lawmakers, including Veronica Escobar, who represents El Paso, Henry Cuellar, who represents the outskirts of San Antonio, along with the Laredo area, and then Vicente Gonzalez, who represents South Texas, to include Corpus Christi. So they are along with him on this trip here in El Paso, and then Alejandro Mayorkas, who is the Homeland Security Secretary. He is also on board before they continue to talk to city officials here in El Paso, talking about the situation here with the influx of migrants that they've seen within the past few weeks. Excuse me. So you're watching as that plane is getting closer now. We're watching as it's moving along the tarmac. It's going to be landing right in, or driving right in front of us just moments from now. So from here, He's going to get off the plane, meet with city leaders, then he's going to go to Mexico. The First Lady is not joining him this afternoon. She will be joining him in Mexico. So after this trip, he will be going to Mexico. That is set to take place. He is going to be taking off from here at around 3:45 Mountain Time, which is 4:45 Central Time. So he will be here for about, say, 3 hours is the duration of his trip before he takes off again. So there you are within ice, right in front of us. We're watching as the Air Force One is pulling up right in front of us. Good afternoon. If you're just now joining us, this is a picture of Air Force One as it has landed here in El Paso, Texas. This happened at around 1:26 Central Time, so 12:26 Mountain Standard Time. So you're watching as city leaders, along with Governor Abbott, are waiting for President Biden to get off this plane, welcoming here to El Paso. He is landing sooner than anticipated. He was actually supposed to land at around 1:45 Central Time, 12:45 Mountain Standard Time. So he is getting here a little bit sooner than we were anticipating. But again, he is joined by several other lawmakers to include Veronica Escobar, Henry Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, three representatives who represent folks at the border, whether that be the El Paso border or the South Texas border. So they are here as President Biden will be making his first visit to the border in 2 years. So there you're watching him as he is stepping off the plane. There is President Biden along with Veronica Escobar. They are walking off of the steps. They're Governor Greg Abbott, along with the mayor of El Paso and the county judge, are all awaiting to meet with him as well. Henry Cuellar, you're looking at him too. He is in the tan jacket. Vicente Gonzalez in the blue suit. So they are all stepping off the plane, along with other members of Biden's staff. And they landed at around 1:26 Central Time, 12:26 Mountain Standard Time. President Biden's trip will take place for about 3 hours now. So you're looking at city leaders as they are meeting with Joe Biden, including the mayor of El Paso, Oscar Leeser, the county judge, and Governor Greg Abbott. They are all in attendance this afternoon waiting to greet President Joe Biden. He's out of view now because of the motorcade, but we saw him just moments ago stepping off of Air Force One to meet with city leaders, take a tour of the city. We're told he's going to be heading to the Bridge of Americas, according to staff we managed to speak to. There you are seeing Joe Biden. He's shaking the hands with the county judge, Samaniego, and Oscar Leeser, the mayor of El Paso. He's greeting them at the moment. We just watched as the plane landed. Took a while for them to get off the plane, but you're looking at it happening right in front of our eyes. We're just yards away from the president and other staff members. Veronica Escobar, Henry Cuellar, and Vicente Gonzalez are also joining him, along with the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. So after this, we're again told that he is going to be going to the Bridge of Americas, which is a port of entry here in El Paso. If you're familiar with El Paso, that is near the Chamizal, here in the central El Paso area. So they're going to be heading there after this before they go to the Migrant Resource Center, which is also not too far. We will not be able to bring you a picture of him departing from the international airport. That is not available or open to the press for us, so we will not be able to stream that. But we're going to continue our coverage right here on KENS 5. Again, landing, he is here speaking with city officials, speaking with other officials. Governor Greg Abbott is here. You may not be able to see him along with the other representatives who are also here. Those representatives also representing border communities, Corpus Christi, Laredo. So we are watching as these conversations are taking place. But again, he arrived at around 12:26 Mountain Time, which is 1:26 Central Time. Okay, there you see Veronica Escobar exchanging hugs with the county judge, Samaniego, and Mayor Oscar Leeser. They're having a conversation with each other now. Right now, Joe Biden is not within my eyesight. Bishop Seitz is also here as well.
Situation there at Sacred Heart Church, it looks a little bit different right now than what it did weeks ago.
There you see Henry Cuellar embracing with the county judge right now, Samaniego,
And that is part of what
and Oscar Leeser, the mayor. So Henry Cuellar also exchanging some pleasantries right now as crews are moving away from the plane now to get into what appears to be this motorcade they have had ready for the president's arrival. Governor Abbott, again, also here at the international airport, the El Paso International Airport, waiting for him. So again, he has been here for about 10 minutes now, a little bit more than 10 minutes now. He touched down at 1:26. We watched as Air Force One was beginning to land. There you're looking at Governor Greg Abbott. He is heading toward the motorcade right now to resume the rest of the tour here in the border. This is President Biden's first trip to the border in 2 years to take a first-hand look at the influx of migrants that the El Paso community has seen for the past few weeks. So after this, once they get boarded up, he will be heading to the Bridge of the Americas, and then after that, he will be heading to the Migrant Resource Center here in El Paso. There's Governor Abbott. He is coming toward the press. He is heading our way.
Laws already that exist in the United States of America that are contained in the letter that are provided to the president. What he said to work with us on it.
So he was pretty cordial.
He was cordial.
Do you expect to meet with him personally after this?
We'll see what happens. He's never called to talk to me about the immigration issue. Now I provided him a letter that provides tangible, concrete solutions that will stop illegal immigration. And I expect him to call to me, and that's what Secretary Mayorkas also said.
The president also earlier in the week some changes to policy, to immigration policy. Are you satisfied with those changes?
Those changes will probably do nothing more than entice more illegal immigration. You have to implement the policies in my letter to stop illegal immigration and to begin on the process of what he wants to work on. But that first starts with detaining those who are here illegally, as opposed to letting them go on an amnesty program. It means deporting those who cross the border illegally between the points of entry. It means doing what the federal courts have ordered him to do, which is to implement the Remain in Mexico policy as well as the Title 42 policy, and going back and continuing to build the border wall in the state of Texas using the taxpayer money already dedicated to building that border wall.
Will you encourage him to keep Title 42 in place?
Not only do I encourage it, we were part of the lawsuit forcing the federal government to require him to do it. It's more than encouragement. He is required, as president, by the laws to maintain Title 42 in place and enforce it.
Will you ask for more money to be sent to Texas to handle this unprecedented
100%. Texas desperately needs more money. I know the Republicans in the U.S. House have committed to providing Texas the money that we need. We just finished over the past 2 years spending $4 billion of Texas taxpayer dollars for Texas to fill the gap caused by the Biden administration. We're starting a session this next week that we will add another $4 billion to secure the border.
Will you continue busing minors to other cities?
We are not just Texas, but the city of El Paso, the governor of Colorado, governors of other states, and leaders of other communities. We are removing migrants from our communities because we don't have the capability of handling it. Self-declared sanctuary cities with massive resources like New York, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., they have the capacity to deal with this. Far more than El Paso, but even far more than Del Rio and Eagle Pass and all the other tiny communities along the border that are being overwhelmed by the president's illegal policies that are turning this into an open border situation.
Do you mind if I ask you what's in the letter?
Sure. What's in the letter is I start by telling him that he's 2 years and about $20 billion too late, and then I urge him in the letter to see the real chaos. What everybody here may already know, and that is that there were thousands of migrants sleeping on the streets in El Paso that have been cleaned up in the past few days. And I asked him to go see the areas where we have these mass migration crossings and go visit with the people who own property and live on the border whose lives have been totally disrupted. And then I said, Mr. President, you have a job to do to enforce the immigration law. And I outlined 5 ways in that letter of what it can do right now without any new law having to be passed. Number 1 is to detain anybody who comes into this country illegally for the removal process and not engage in this massive amnesty program of letting people go wherever they may go. Number 2 is to restart the deportation process that ICE is already authorized to do to remove from our country anybody who comes here illegally. Number 3 is to stop people from violating U.S. law by crossing across the border between the ports of entry. Then I say he must follow what the federal courts have told him to do, and that is to enforce Title 42 and enforce the U.S Mexico. And then the last one was to use the taxpayer money already appropriated to build the border wall in Texas. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Say it again.
I heard you say you were going to ask the ledge for additional funds for Operation Lone Star.
The state legislature.
Quítame.
Again?
What are your thoughts on it being the first visit to the southern border after being in office for 2 years?
My thought about this being the president's first visit to the border after being in office for 2 years is that it is stunning and astonishing and outrageous that this is his first time down here. Even if it were not for the chaos that's already down here, he should have been here. But because he declared or caused this chaos himself, he should have been down here from day 1 to fix the problem that he created.
Did you have a conversation with Veronica Escobar? What was that discussion all about?
I also handed her a copy of the letter that I provided to the president, and I told Veronica Escobar what I told the president, and that is there are solutions to fix all this that already exist in federal law, and all you all have to do is to ensure that the president complies with current United States law to secure the border by enforcing the current immigration laws that allow for the detainment and the deportation of people who come into the United States illegally. Thank you all very much. So, the president announced on Thursday.
Excuse me. Thank you, I'm so sorry. All right, good afternoon. This is Alyssa Tejas with Ken's 5. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, Governor Greg Abbott, we just finished speaking to him. He was waiting on the tarmac as President Joe Biden was getting off of the plane. He landed at around 12:25 along with other U.S. representatives to include Veronica Escobar, Henry Cuellar, and Vicente Gonzalez. So Governor Greg Abbott said he greeted all of them. He exchanged some pleasantries with Biden. He says it was very cordial, but he also handed him a letter with 5 points he say will address the issues at the border. So for some of them, they include detaining migrants who enter, finishing the border wall, and following orders from court systems that have been handed down. So President Joe Biden will be here for about 3 hours for his El Paso trip. From here, we're told, staff tells us that he will be heading to the Bridge of the Americas, which is one of the port of entries here in El Paso. After going to the Bridge of the Americas, he will be heading to the Migrant Resource Center before heading out. That is expected to take place at around 3:45 Mountain Standard Time, which is 4:45 Central Time. So, of course, he did land sooner than anticipated. He got here about 15 minutes early, but it was a swift arrival before he got into the motorcade along with other representatives. He also met with city officials here in El Paso, along with greeting Governor Abbott. He met with the county judge, Samaniego, the mayor, Oscar Leeser, Bishop Seitz. So several city officials also here to greet the president. We saw Veronica Escobar exchanging some hugs with city officials along with Henry Cuellar. So they will be joining him for his arrival here in El Paso. The Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas is also in attendance here. So again, we're just waiting here. We just watched as Governor Abbott was speaking with us for some time, saying that he greeted the president, saying that he did give him a letter with 5 points that will address the issue here at the border. He says that for some of them it includes detaining these migrants who are coming into the country illegally, following court orders passed down from the court system, and then finishing the border wall, to name 3 of those points. We're going to continue to follow this story. You can watch this on Kent's 5 later tonight, where we're going to have a full recap of his trip here in El Paso. This is the first leg of his trip. After this, at around 3:45, he will be taking off to Mexico to meet with Mexican leaders along with Canadian leaders. The First Lady will be joining him there in Mexico. She did not come to El Paso this afternoon. She instead will be going straight to Mexico to meet them there. So again, they will be here for about 3 hours. They were set to meet with border officials, Border Patrol, and other city officials. So again, Air Force One has arrived, but we're going to continue to follow this story as Biden continues the rest of his visit. Thanks for joining us.
Not that it matters, but Air Force Two
walk and talk, right? Push me off. About 30 minutes ago, this was